What's up, Hoopers? If you 100% believe that Westbrook is staying a Laker, not going anywhere, then you can go ahead and leave. But you guys came up with 6 different trades. I do believe, because sources just one day ago, 2 different sources, well, multiple, said that the Lakers and the Jazz aren't done talking. There is still communication going on with Pelinka and some of these other teams to try and move off of Westbrook. Now, I have the 6 most likely 6 trades that the Lakers are looking into making. Your job at the end of this is to comment anything else you're saying, but also vote on it. If you were Rob Pelinka, if you were the GM, the ownership of the Lakers, what's the #1 trade that you would do out of all of 6 of these? And the beautiful thing is, these trades came from you. I read all of my comments. I'm building a platform for not only myself, but for you guys to voice your opinions, and I will bring them up. So I'm going to do that. I took one of your guys' comments. It's 6 incredible trades and exactly what needs to be done, and we're going to break down every single one of them so that we can vote on it at the end. And I'm here to tell you right now, the 6th trade I have not heard of yet, but if it could happen the way that it was written down, I'm signing that baby today. Let's move on. Let's get to rocking. I am your NBA white guy. I talk all things NBA hoops from a hooper's perspective. And if you're yourself a hooper and you like this type of content, make sure you tap that subscribe button and you click the bell so you're notified every time I do a new video. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to bring up a comment that I got from one of you guys. Again, I love going through all of my comments. You guys tear me up. You guys agree with me. I don't care. That's the world, right? But when you guys have incredible trade packages out there and you get to act like the GM for the day, I want to highlight that. So make sure you're always commenting down below your thoughts. And if it's amazing and it's something that's viable, we're going to bring it up. But these are 6 trades that have been talked about that could happen. And again, just bringing up, just one day ago, look at here, the sources, the holdup on the talks is with Russell Westbrook to the Utah trade is strictly about one player, Jarred Vanderbilt. The teams are remaining in contact. This is one day ago. That's an actual accredited source I went and checked out. So to think that these talks are done, I don't think so. The Lakers, Jeannie Buss, Pelinka, they could be pulling anything out of their sleeve. And before we get to trade #1, I just want to thank you, Digital Dan. It does seem like Russ is going to stay a Laker, but there are 6 deals out there that the Lakers should highly consider. Okay, so this is what we're voting on today, and thank you, Digital Dan, for the awesome trade proposals. Trade #1. We got it with the Jazz with Bogdanovich, Conley, Gay, and Vanderbilt. See, that was in the sources there. Good job. For Russ and the 2 picks. Okay, so this is something that if we talk about it okay, from what the Jazz want, draft capital. And this gets those 2 picks. Now, apparently from Danny Ainge himself, he said those are the most highly coveted picks. Unprotected, 2 first-round picks. So he wants those bad boys bad. There's a lot of other talks, but apparently the Vanderbilt is the hang-up. Again, I did a whole video on this. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out because I break down his film. I break down his stats, his shooting charts. Everything. And I didn't know a lot about him, but he's a hustle. He's a hustle guy. He gives you all of his energy the entire game. He actually goes out there, plays incredible defense on your star, Paul George. He played defense and stripped the ball. Now, Vanderbilt's a dude that I went and pulled a bunch of footage on. He's a very high energy guy. He's not going to shoot threes, and you might be like, oh my gosh, why do we need another guy who can't shoot? Because LeBron won championships with Tristan Thompson, and everybody knows that dude was the motor. He won championships with Birdman. You know that dude was the motor. That's what they also need. They need these big guys down there who are not afraid to get dunked on, who can block shots. And then you're getting Bogdanovich, Conley. These dudes are massive, big-time shooters. And obviously Conley's got a terrible contract. You guys can comment down below about the contracts, whatever. But this is the trade #1. Trade #2, this comes in as the Spurs trade with McDermott, Richardson, Collins, and Langford for Russ and their 2027 first-round picks. So the pro to this trade is just one of the picks, and then next season, we have a little bit more capital. I'm not a huge fan. I've done videos on this about McDermott, Richardson. Look, McDermott would be a great pickup if he was a free agent, on the vet deal, but I'm not trading for him. I know he can shoot, but, he hasn't been a shooter since Creighton, it really seems, back 100 years ago. I'm not a huge proponent of this Spurs trade, and that is 4 players. So, again, we'd have to, offload quite a few players on our team because we're only getting rid of 1. Who do you get rid of, right? Or you drop some of these dudes, buy them out. I'm not quite sure, but Spurs deal for me already is out. And don't let me weigh you. If you know something about that Spurs trade and you love it, that's what you need to be commenting down below. Okay, so trade number 3 comes in. We've had a lot of talks about this. It's with the Knicks. I think the Knicks got their butt kicked with the Donovan thing. They're like, my goodness, we are effing everything up. You guys who are Knicks fans in the comments didn't like that, but they're not ran well. They're awful. They haven't been good since Starks was the point guard, and they still couldn't get anywhere. How are you the biggest? Yes, I'm talking probably bigger than the Lakers, and you cannot get good players. This is something that you need to work on. So the Knicks are still trying to get that draft capital so that they can make some massive move. They're probably just going to spill all their beans on one somewhat player, maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, something like that. But the Knicks, Fournier, Rose, Reddish for Russ in the 27th. So anytime you can give away the 1 pick, and again, from a Hooper's perspective, you know, it's like if Westbrook and Beverly are like best buddies and LeBron buys back in, I think it's viable. I did a whole video on the new offense that they're running and how this defense and the fast breaks and everything can work out. But you still have to realize that, you know, people don't change, right? If there's like an abusive relationship, right, and then the person's nice all of a sudden, you're like, well, that's a little different. But then they come back and they are exactly who they are. I think in the minds of maybe LeBron and some of these players at the Lakers, they're just kind of like, well, he's great now. He's great in practice, all this energy, but we kind of know. And then if he has one bad game, which is going to happen, everybody has bad games, it's going to be instantly just Trashville, right? So that's the one thing that I fear with Westbrook, is that he's not going to be able to shake that if he has one bad outing. You know, not only the players, but the fans and the media are going to tear him up. I'm actually kind of tired of seeing it. Poor guy. You know, he is a normal dude, so we have to be, you know, cautious of that. But I do like this trade. I think Fournier, he's a big, you know, 6'7" foreign dude who can really play some tough D, shoot it from anywhere. Rose, he's going to give you 25, 30 games, but again, he's an old vet. I think he has respect. He'll have it in that locker room. You know, Cam Reddish, he's a guy who's just not made his name in the league. He really didn't make it in college, but he's a big guy, 6'9". He can play defense. And the other thing that I think about with Cam Reddish is that he's trying to not get bounced out of the league forever, go to the G League or have to play overseas. He's trying to get that contract and a bigger one. So he knows he has to accept a role. He knows he has to go out there and play hard if he wants to go, because he's going into contract year. So that's somebody that you could kind of steal. He's young, he's cheap, and you could make him a good role player. He's going to want to play as hard as he possibly can. You know, LeBron's been able to elevate people, obviously, throughout his entire career if they accept their roles. And that's just something that, you know, the Knicks could offer up, and we could just get rid of 1 pick. Again, if you guys are loving these videos and you get your opinions, please hit that like button. It really helps these videos out. And at the end of this, you're going to comment 1 through 6. Which trade do you like and why? This is one that was probably talked about the most and that everybody loved, but I don't think it's going to happen. But it's Turner, Hield, and McConnell for Russ, Gabriel, Christie, and their 2 first-round picks. So it already was stated that Indiana wanted THT and they wanted the Tice deal to be picked up. And so I don't know if the Pacers are really in. They're not really that desperate. But this is something that, you know, everybody still, in my comments, it's full of this. They want the Pacers trade. I think Hield's an incredible shooter. Again, when you talk about these hustle guys, that's what I think you can get in with Turner. And he's, you know, he's a big guy like a Tristan Thompson or a, you know, Birdman, who can go down there and get some blocks, keep Anthony Davis out. But he also is somebody who can shoot. And so that is, you know, kind of a double bonus when you get the big guy, but also a guy who can stretch the floor with shooting. So I see how this would be really, really big for the Lakers. And it would make, honestly, for lack of a better term, the Lakers a lot bigger, right? A lot bigger on the defensive side of the ball, too. So I do really like that Pacers trade. You know, this is a trade number 5 that I've been hearing a lot about from you guys in the comments, and there hasn't been too much broken down on what really needs to be done, but it's Hayward and Oubre for I messed up that name, but I know it's Kelly Oubre for Russ and their 2027 first round pick. So it's the 2027. This is one thing I need you guys to comment down below. I'm not sure what's the biggest difference besides of urgency and its first between the 2027 and the 2029 Lakers picks. Is there one that's better? Obviously 27's before it, but maybe the 29 pick's better. But he has been obviously giving not only the trade, but what the Lakers have to give up. And this one is the 2027 first round pick. So I think Hayward, again, is a great role player. He's big. He's sneaky big at like 6'7", 6'8". He can shoot the ball. He can score. Again, you don't always have to have this like statistician stat guy who is telling you he can shoot 41%. it's a defensive mindset for these teams to where they know this guy can shoot and they have to respect that, right? When you watch a lot of what the Lakers did last season, which was stand around, if Westbrook had the ball, they dropped off. You're not doing that to Oubre or to Gordon Hayward, right? You're going to have to play up and play defense on them. So that's a big thing. When you talk about teams and structure, it's not always can this dude hit. We've watched Steph Curry go on 10-game slumps where he shoots like 5%. It happens, but you're never not going to guard him, right? So these are players that every NBA player knows, hey, if I leave them open, they're going to knock down shots, so you have to guard them. You never want to go into a game with guys like Westbrook who, you just don't even have to play defense off, and you can sag down to the middle because you know he wants to drive the ball. So those are things that you have to think about as well. And these are great, big, tall players who can play big minutes, score lots of points, and really make that defense respect those players so that they can run their offense better, have more open cuts and shots. And this is a trade right now that if we could do it, I mean, obviously you lose both of your first-round picks, and I don't know why the Heat would be doing this, but you get Lowry, Robinson, and Hero for Westbrook and their 2 picks. So I think Hero, I talked about him in a video that I did of a bounce back season. Hey, I'm an NBA white guy. I got to give him respect. But Hero is nasty. That dude is really, really good. And I think, you know, he's got that tenacity and the confidence. And if you're going to wear the purple and yellow, purple and gold, whatever you want to call it, you have to have confidence. And I don't think Hero lacks any of that. He's a big-time shooter. Again, everybody in the league is going to respect him and going to be out guarding him. You're not going to be able to stand off of this guy and hover down into the paint. Lowry, if you watch him, he is a dog, and he is incredible at just getting his teammates going. I think, you know, he was pivotal in the whole Raptors organization. Again, I don't know why they'd want to get rid of him. Every single podcast, every interview, everything you ever hear about Lowry, he's a gym rat. That dude loves to be in the gym working. So that's exactly the kind of player that we need going next to, Pat Bev starting. But now you're really small with Lowry, Pat Bev, and Kendrick Nunn. So your two, your starter's going to have to be Austin Reeves or, Tyler Hero. He's 6'7", so that brings up size. So the only tough part is if you're going to start Lowry, or Pat Bev, you almost can't start. That's the tough part about these backcourts is you've got such small guys with Pat Bev and Russ. So, it can work. We've seen it before. But, hey, you guys comment right now. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 for you? The trade with the Utah Jazz, personally, I think Bogdanovich being 6'8" and a walking bucket and shoot from everywhere can come off of screens. And also getting, Vanderbilt, who I did a little bit more research on. He is that Birdman. He's that Tristan Thompson, who I really think the Lakers need is another high-energy guy who's a big man. They got the high-energy point guard. They got the high-energy big man. And the 3 pieces in between can just be your ballers, your players, your shooters. You got Bogdanovich. You got AD, LeBron. That, to me, seems like a deadly combination. Then you've got a lot of help coming off the bench with Kendrick Nunn, Austin Reeves, Damian Jones, and Bryant. That is a deep, deep team. You need that 7 to 8 man rotation in the playoffs. I don't know which one of those dudes. Now you got Juan Toscano. I mean, this is something where you look at the Lakers and you're like, dang, 1 through 8, 9, that is a deep, deep team, which you haven't been able to say for a long time. Usually you say they're an old team. So this will bring a lot of youth. It'll bring a lot of shooters. It'll bring a ton of defense, and I really like it. You guys comment down below. What other trades are you hearing? What trade do you like best? I am your NBA white guy. I talk all things NBA hoops, and the other thing I do, breaking down the brand new offense that the Lakers are going to run this year with the 4-out 1 in. I broke down all the film. I broke down the Bucks film. I broke down the 4-out 1 in. Everything right here. Go watch it. I promise you'll love it.